Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We're actually going to be doing something very, very fun today and something that has actually been quite highly requested recently. We are going to do a full tour of my little home library room here, a full tour of all of the books on the bookshelves that I have, and it's going to be a lot of fun because yeah, I've been seeing a lot of comments, a lot of messages from you guys requesting this video, and I do agree. It's been a little while since we've done a full bookshelf tour. So get comfy, grab a snack, and let's go around the bookshelves. Okay, I feel like this is actually the strangest angle ever, but we're gonna start with the big fantasy bookshelves and we're gonna start with the top ones over here. There's literally no way that I could make this angle look normal. I'm actually standing on my tiptoes right now. So there's that, but on these top two shelves over here, this at the very top is essentially my Sarah J Maas shelf. Very straightforward. I have the entire Throne of Glass box set. This is the older covers, but not like the old original covers. I think this is like the second batch of covers that they did for the series. Let's see if I can get one out of here actually to show you. Ugh, there's literally nothing harder than trying to squeeze a book out of a box set. The only thing harder actually is trying to squeeze that same book back into the box set. Okay, let's get up on my tippy toes again. But yeah, just wanted to show you that the covers essentially look like this. They do have kind of the old aesthetic vibe of the person on the cover, which I find very, very fun, but they're just all kind of like white and blue in the color scheme. Okay, I need both hands to put this back. Oh, okay. Over here I have all of the just like regular ACOTAR paperbacks and then just the regular hardcovers for the Crescent City series, and this is actually a funny little book. It's called A Coupe of Thorns and Roses. It's actually a cocktail recipe book. There are romantic-y themed cocktails in this book. I actually did not purchase this. One of my friends from my in-person book club actually works at a place where sometimes she gets a lot of just like extra overflow stock of books sometimes. So she at one point got like 30 copies of this, I want to say. So she was just like doing a free giveaway. She was like, everyone in the book club can have one. So I picked this up from her, and it's just like a fun decorative element on my shelf. Honestly, I don't actually drink very much these days, so I haven't actually tested any of these cocktail recipes. But yeah, they're all just very themed, and they're not even all just ACOTAR cocktails. This one, for example, just flipped to a random one, says Grumpy Wants Tequila Sunshine, and this is an Emily Wilde themed cocktail. Just something cute and fun. So there's that. And then I don't know if you can see from down there, but I do just have this Night Court candle that I got a while ago. I honestly don't even remember where I got that from, but that's my top shelf. And then just under that is kind of my very epic shelf, I guess you could say. I have all of my Red Rising books. I have my like James Islington section over here with The Will of the Many. And then I have all of my Brandon Sandersons. Am I even on camera? I can't see myself in the viewfinder. And then I have This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona Andrews. I just thought that book overall fit with the whole kind of epic high fantasy vibe of this shelf. But yeah, that is my high fantasy shelf slash epic sci-fi reads. And then out of the Brandon Sanderson, of course, I have Tress of the Emerald Sea, Mistborn. I only have the first Mistborn book in paperback. I actually read the second and third books of the trilogy on my Kindle at the time, so I never got physical copies of the rest of the Mistborn books, which is, it's fine, it's okay. I don't really need them. I have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, Warbreaker, The Arcanum Unbounded, which is still, I need to dive deeper into those stories, all of Stormlight Archive, mass market paperbacks for The Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, and Rhythm of War, but then I do have the giant hardcover of Wind and Truth, and then on top of the Stormlight books, I have this little mace thing. This was actually a like goodie prize thing from Book of the Month. With Book of the Month, along with the book subscription, obviously there's this annual reading challenge, and it's basically just like every time you read and rate a book on the Book of the Month app, it counts towards your Book of the Month, the reading challenge, reading goal thing, and if you hit the goal, then you get like a little goodie prize at the end of the year, and so this was the prize of last year. I think it's just like, I don't even know what it's for. It's like a little decorative mace thing, so I just keep that up there. Moving over to these top two shelves. My top shelf over here, I like to think of as my kind of nostalgic reads section. Over here, we have all of my Hunger Games books. We have some of my old ones from when I was younger and then combined with the newer prequels that have come out. And then these, I actually have two of these prints, but they're exactly the same. But these little pieces of paper are quotes from Sunrise on the Reaping. So this says, "You can't count on things happening tomorrow just because they happened in the past." They're just little printouts that I got when the Sunrise on the Reaping movie PR team, when they were doing kind of pop-ups all over the world and you could go and visit their pop-ups and they were handing out little quotes. I got this from there. So I just kind of put this up here alongside my Hunger Games books. I also have two of the Red Queen books here by Victoria Aveyard, which I'm not going to finish or like continue the series, so it's just going to be those two. And those aren't really a nostalgic read for me because it's not like I read those when I was a teenager, but I feel like just with the dystopian kind of a YA vibe, they kind of fit Hunger Games very well, so I put them up there because they fit. I do have my Game of Thrones collection here, so I have paperbacks of Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, Storm of Swords, and A Feast for Crows. Realized I never had A Dance with Dragons, and I read these books so long ago, I genuinely don't even remember if I ended up reading A Dance with Dragons or not. I did actually, when I got my new Kobo though, this year, I signed into my old Kobo account that I used to have years and years and years ago, and I did realize that on my Kobo I have the full box set, like of the ebooks of the entire Game of Thrones series, including A Dance with Dragons. So now I'm thinking maybe I read A Dance of Dragons on my Kobo, but it was so long ago that I can't remember where I dropped off in this series, and that was before I was using reading tracker apps like Goodreads or Fable, so I genuinely don't even know if I ever got to the end of this unfinished series. So maybe it's about time for a reread and to actually like read this in my adult years and get refreshed on that. And then I also actually have a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Also in the Game of Thrones world, I do remember reading this one. I do remember Dunk and Egg just because their names are so quirky. But they are by George R.R. Martin. I have this special edition copy of Divergent that the HarperCollins team very kindly sent to me. Absolutely love it. The rest of my Divergent books from my younger years are still in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house, but I do have this special edition Divergent. I have these gorgeous illustrated editions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, or it's not technically a trilogy, but the Lord of the Rings books, plus The Hobbit, which I absolutely love. And then back here, I don't know if you can see from the camera angle, but I do have some special editions of Harry Potter, and I do keep them up here on my nostalgia bookshelf because they are very nostalgic to me. I obviously don't want to support She Who Must Not Be Named in any way financially, but I did receive the special edition copies as gifts, and so I do cherish them and I love them, and they are up here on my shelf. Moving one shelf down, we have just, yeah, more fantasy that I think these all kind of vibe together, whether aesthetically or themes wise or mood wise in their books. But on this side, I have all my Samantha Shannons. So I have the Bone Season series all the way up to The Dark Mirror, so I'm caught up with that. Priory of the Orange Tree and the prequel, A Day, A Fallen Night. Beside that, I have The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson, which we're all still waiting for the second book of that to release. And then over here on this side, this is my Rebecca Ross collection. So I have the River Enchanted duology, I have Wild Reverence, and then I have the Divine Rivals duology. Couple of knickknacks here. I have my little espresso cup Jellycat sitting over here. He's so cute. Can you see him? I have a little card here that's actually a customized poem that I got from this kind of an adult book fair event that I went to last September here in Toronto. There was a team that was kind of making, typing out custom notes on little mini typewriters for anyone who paid them like $5, or it was like by donation, I want to say. So that's a cute little poem. Actually, do you want me to read this to you? It's kind of actually very cute. It says, "Jamie, on any day you'll be burrito wrapped on couch deep read as you weep and lean with Sage and Bowie, my cats. Thousands of pages into a fantasy world, tears fall, pages flip, TikTok on as you reveal the best books of all. Cry proudly, slip into words, and let the day fall away so you can live fully. Essentially, all I told her, because she kind of asked me a little bit about my life before she wrote my poem, I just told her that I love reading, I love making like book content, which is where she got the TikTok thing, and I have my 2 cats that always sit with me as I read. So yeah, she wrote a lovely little poem for me. And then here I have, it's like a healer's quadrant print thing that came in a full set of 4 that basically have all the Fourth Wing quadrants. It's Fourth Wing themed. Honestly, don't remember where those were from. They were a gift sent to me. But that is that shelf. Okay, back over to this side, 1 shelf down. This shelf behind me right here, it started as a full Rebecca shelf and then just kind of got stuff added to it. So originally it was Rebecca R.F. Kuang and then also Rebecca Yarros on the other end, and it was kind of like dragon themed, kind of like Rebecca plus dragons. So for R.F. Kuang, obviously I have the Poppy War trilogy here in paperback. I have Babel, the Poppy War special illustrated edition, which is so gorgeous, and then this is Catabasis, obviously, and then Rebecca Yarros, obviously all my Fourth Wing books. So I do have 2 editions of Fourth Wing, and this is something that I don't normally do. Purchasing multiple copies of like special edition books is just not something I partake in. Even this Poppy War illustrated edition, it was a gift sent by one of you actually, which I'm so grateful for, and I'm always so happy to receive special editions as gifts, but it's just something that I never feel good about like spending my own money on, you know what I mean, if I already own the book. So what possessed me to buy this 2nd edition of Fourth Wing? Genuinely, I don't know. I bought this, I don't even know if I was making content yet at the time. Like, I don't know if I was making YouTube videos at the time, but this was in the midst of the Fourth Wing craze and I was fully on board with everything. I was going to the midnight release parties for Iron Flame and Onyx Storm, and this I think I got at the midnight release party for Iron Flame. I'm pretty sure, because this was released around the same time and everyone around me was so excited and hyped up for it, and I just fell, I don't know, I fell under the hype and the peer pressure. I fell for it and I purchased this. And honestly, kind of regret it, because outside of reading the bonus chapters at the very end of this book, like 2 bonus chapters, I think, have I ever actually like looked at this or opened it or read it? No, never. So mistakes were made. It's okay. But that's the story behind my 2 Fourth Wing copies. Here, these beautiful sprayed edges are my 5 Broken Blades trilogy by Mai Corland. These books were just so much fun to read, and yeah, these edges are just the type that need to be displayed edge side out. And then little knickknacks. I have this little bookstore thing sitting here. This is actually supposed to be one of those kind of scent diffusers, but I don't really use this stuff because number 1, it's not really great for cats, and number 2, this book room honestly just smells so good naturally. I don't know why, but this room in particular in the house is always the freshest room of the house. I don't know if it's because of the direction it's facing. I don't know if it's because it's just filled with books, so you get this delicious paper scent in this room, or I do have some candles in this room that I don't light, but just the candles sitting on my bookshelves, there's just a scent that wafts from them constantly. So I don't really need help with scents in particular with this, so I don't plug it in. I just use it as a cute little like knickknack decoration on my bookshelf, but it's just kind of this little bookstore nook thing. And again, I'm so sorry, I don't know where that's from. Actually, no, this is from Bath and Body Works. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Bath & Body Works, they did like a special book scent collection thing and they sent me one of those. And this little sign here used to be on display, but we started running out of room on the shelves, so I had to turn it sideways, but this was just my Rider's Quadrant, the same print as the other one, and it's on the shelf because all my Fourth Wing stuff is on this shelf as well. And then on this side, just some more fantasy, but definitely more romantasy focused over here on this shelf. So I have Shield of Sparrows, Starling House, Immortal Dark, A Study in Drowning, my 2 When the Moon Hatched books, so When the Moon Hatched and The Ballad of Falling Dragons, very misaligned because my When the Moon Hatched is indie published and this is not, so they're very different. I also have my treasured little Polaroid sitting here. This is from the event that I went to with Sarah A. Parker, and the HarperCollins team was there and they were taking Polaroids for everyone, which was very cute, and then she obviously also signed it, so I keep this with her books. This is an ARC for Phantasma. It's like a very plain spine, which I always laugh when I see this, because why does it look like this? The cover is normal. The spine is not, but that's Phantasma, and that's, you know, it goes with Enchantra, even though the spines look very different. I have the Heartless Hunter duology. These are my Adrienne Young books here, so The Unmaking of June Farrow, Spells for Forgetting, A Sea of Unspoken Things, and then all my Stephanie Garbers, so Alchemy of Secrets, Caraval trilogy, Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and then Alchemized here on the very end. On this shelf here, more fantasy, of course, obviously. So I have my adult Leigh Bardugo books here. So The Familiar, and then The Ninth House and Hellbent, The Ember Quartet by Sabaa Tahir. I have all of my V.E. Schwab here. So Vicious and Vengeful, and then my Shades of Magic trilogy, Addie LaRue, of course, Bury Our Bones, The Fragile Threads of Power, and then Gallant, this is my only book from V.E. Schwab. No, actually, I was gonna say this is my only V.E. Schwab book that is published under Victoria Schwab, but this is actually still V.E. Schwab. I own no Victoria Schwabs, which I do feel like needs to be remedied. I've been wanting to dive into V.E. Schwab's, like, further into her backlist from when she was publishing under Victoria Schwab, but I guess all my Schwabs are V.E. And then these two books are not V.E. Schwabs, but I have The Night Circus here, and then A Stage Set for Villains. I feel like both of those kind of fit the Schwab vibe. And then here I just have a little, like, plastic rose, like a fake rose thing that was actually a part of a PR package that I received for some sort of a book. Maybe it came with, no, I didn't get A Stage Set for Villains. I bought that myself. It came with a book that matched a theme with a rose, and I just tossed that onto this shelf. Okay, wait, I was about to move, you guys. I'm still so awkwardly on my knees, but I feel like you can actually see the shelf down here as well from this angle. So this is kind of my, like, YA fantasy haven. There is one series here that isn't YA, and that is the Nisha J. Tooley books, The Trial of the Sun Queen. I have 3 books from this series, and these are definitely, like, spicy adult romances, but they just kind of fit the heights of all of these books, I think, so I grouped them together with my YA fantasy shelf. But I have my Mary E. Pearson books, so I have The Vow of Thieves. Still never got Dance of Thieves in physical because I read that on my Kindle years ago, but I have Vow of Thieves. I have the entire Kiss of Deception trilogy, the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare, my 3 Nisha J. Tooley books. I have the Prison Healer trilogy, Heavenly Bodies, and Fallen Stars by Amani Iriu, which I guess these are also adult-leaning, spicier books that just kind of, like, but they kind of read YA at the same time, you know? They read YA but plus spice, so I feel like they do fit on this shelf. And then my YA Grishaverse Leigh Bardugo books. So the Shadow and Bone trilogy, the King of Scars duology, and then my beautiful neon covers of Six of Crows that I will always forever be mad about, but I've accepted them in my life at this point. Okay, and then this shelf is actually, like, one of my favorite shelves that I have in this room because it's just so, like, woodsy and vibey and lovely. I actually love this shelf so much. It's one of my favorites. But this is kind of like my fairy planty fantasy shelf. So this is where I have all of my Emily Wilde books by Heather Fawcett, and so because of that, I also put the Mystical Cat Shelter by her here, even though that one's not very fairy or planty at all. The cover still suits the vibe, and, you know, I like to keep all of my Heather Fawcett together, all of my authors together. So yeah, Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter. I have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and then my Sorcery and Small Magics by Megha Ducey, Emily Wilde trilogy, Belladonna trilogy, and then some standalones here. So The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry is right here. The Phoenix Keeper, The Wild Huntress, and then here I guess I have some of my Rachel Gilligs. I have One Dark Window. Never got Two Twisted Crowns in physical though, because that's another one. I think I got an e-arc for that one when I read it, so never got a physical of Two Twisted Crowns, but I do love that book a lot. The Night of the Moth, of course, and The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow, and Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. And then to just kind of, you know, finish off the fairy vibe, I have my little fairy sitting on a mushroom right here, and then my Jellycat mushroom. And yeah, this shelf just makes me so happy. Under that, this is also one of my favorite shelves. This is like, I guess you could say, my Asian fantasy shelf, which I love. There are so many books on the shelf that are my favorite books. So starting from the end over here, I have Breath of the Dragon by Fonda Lee and Shannon Lee. I have then Mark of the Warrior, The Ark. That's why the spine looks very different, but this is Mark of the Warrior, the second book of the duology. I have Red City by Marie Lu, Blood over Brighthaven, The Poet Empress, the Daughters of the Moon Goddess duology, the Six Crimson Cranes duology, plus the prequel, Her Radiant Curse. In this stack, I have my Jade City series, and then The Kingdom of Pack by Marie Lu. I have Isako, Love by Fonda Lee, The Sword of Kaigen, A Song to Drown Rivers, Dawn of the Firebird, House of the Beast, and I actually have 2 copies of The Last Contract of Isako. And this was another fluke that happened because I received, this is the arc for The Last Contract of Isako that I got from the publisher, and this is a Book of the Month copy that I got from Book of the Month as like a sponsored video, so I got it ahead of time. Got that from Book of the Month before I knew I was getting the arc from the publisher, and so both of them arrived around the same time, and I was like, I have 2 copies of this now. I genuinely don't know which one I want to keep, so I'm keeping them both for now. That's my like Asian fantasy shelf. And then down at the very bottom, these are the ends of my fantasy shelves. On this shelf, I guess there are just kind of books that didn't fit anywhere else. There are some books on the shelf that I absolutely love, and then there are some books on the shelf that I just feel kind of like average about. So kind of a miscellaneous mix here, but I do have my 2 Madeline Miller books here, which I love, The Song of Achilles and Circe. I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood here, which is so random, but I genuinely don't know where to put this book because I don't have like a full paranormal romance section, so it just fits down here. I have Metal Slinger, Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I have all of my Cruel Prince books, the trilogy plus the duology. I have 2 of my Olivia Blakes, one for My Enemy and the Atlas 6, my Sparkle the Everflame books, and then my Serpent and the Wings of Night books. I only have 2 of them. I never continued the series after, what is it called? The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. And then on this side, yeah, just kind of more fantasy books that like I didn't know where else to put them. But I have House of the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, Direbound, The Sirens by Amelia Hart, my Jessed Heir Scorched Throne duology, The Hollow Gods by AJ Vrana, Midnight on the Celestial, A Fragile Enchantment, Spectacular, The Games Gods Play, The Hurricane Wars, Our Infinite Fates, and then a bunch of like Book of the Month fantasies here. So A Fate Inked in Blood, The Wishing Game, What the River Knows, the duology, Immortal Consequences, Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher, and The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle, along with The Rebel and the Rose, the second book. I have 2 of the Assistant to the Villain books here, and then at the very end here, The Last Wish, our favorite, not so favorite, Witcher prequel. All right, you guys, we've made it to the other side of the room. So I do have another little like cubular bookshelf here. I feel like we can go through these ones fairly quickly. So on these 3 shelves, these are my romance shelves. So up here is my Book of the Month romance shelf. So I have some Catherine Center, like Hello Strangers and Love Haters. I then have Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It, First Time Caller, another Catherine Center here actually, the Rom-Commers, The Passion Project, Promise Me Sunshine, Ready or Not, my 2 Cara Bestone Book of the Month books, The Shippers, another Catherine Center, Red, White, and Royal Blue, P.S. I Hate You, and One Last Stop. Now you might be thinking, Jamie, why are these not in like author order? It's because I was having a lot of fun and I actually put these in rainbow order depending on like the Book of the Month logo here at the top, and I thought that was just a fun way to organize this little Book of the Month romance section. So that's why some of the authors, like the Catherine Centers, are kind of split up, and same with the Casey McQuistons. I was just going based off of, yeah, the color of this little square on the top of the spines. In this cube, I have my Emily Henry's plus Abby Jimenez. So for Emily Henry, I have Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, Book Lovers, Happy Place, Funny Story, Great Big Beautiful Life. And then Abby Jimenez, I have her old like Friend Zone trilogy here. And then I have Part of Your World, Yours Truly, Say You'll Remember Me, and The Night We Met. And I know I'm still missing the Just for the Summer paperback, but I did read that on my Kindle as well. So I have read all my Abby Jimenez, I just don't have that book in a physical copy. And then here we just have more romance books. So rapid fire. In the likely event, The Things We Leave Unfinished, Love in Other Words, Forget Me Not, Not Another Love Song, No Matter What, Starshipped, Love Me Tomorrow, 5 Feet Apart, Just Friends, The Bodyguard, Over and Over, Every Summer After, Meet Me at the Lake, Sounds Like Love, Picking Daisies on Sundays. I hope this doesn't find you. This Time It's Real, If You Could See the Sun, and then my Bridgerton books. 4 of them. Whew, kind of out of breath from that one. That was a lot. Okay, down here on these 2 shelves are kind of like my mystery thriller section, I guess you could say. So from the very far end, I have The God of the Woods, and then I have The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. I always get those 2 last names mixed up. Some Alice Feeney, so I have Rock, Paper, Scissors, and My Husband's Wife, and then I have You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews, 5 Survive, also Holly Jackson, The Thrashers by Julie Soto, my 3 Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and then in this cube I have None of This Is True, Who is Maud Dixon, The Lost Girls of Willowbrook, Something Within the Walls, The Silent Patient, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, If We Were Villains, Verity, The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, The Only One Left, and Best Offer Wins. So those are my mystery thrillers. And then, okay, these shelves are kind of random. So down here, first of all, I do have all of my old Harry Potter books. Again, for nostalgic reasons, we no longer support She Who Must Not Be Named financially, but I do keep these on my shelves, mixed in with some memoirs on this side. So for memoirs, I have The Manicurist's Daughter, Semi-Well Adjusted, Crying in H. Mart, Sapiens, and the Tom Felton memoir. This shelf I keep as a fluid shelf to hold all of my books that I read that month, so they're all collected in one place for when I film my monthly reading wrap-ups. Now you probably have already seen my July reading wrap-up on my channel, but I am currently filming this video a little bit in advance because I'm a little bit ahead of my filming schedule right now, so you'll have already seen all of these books wrapped up. But as of right now, of today, as I'm filming this, I haven't wrapped these books up yet. It is still kind of like end of July right now, so yeah, this is my holding zone for books that I've read this month. And then up here, kind of a mess of a shelf. If I'm gonna be completely honest, like what are these doing up here? But this is essentially my place where I hold books on my TBR that can't actually be on my TBR yet because they are continuations of series and I'm not to this point yet. So for example, I did get We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad from the publisher. I haven't actually read Bunny, so I can't read this yet. So it's held here. These Tahereh Mafi books I can't read until I've read This Woven Kingdom, so that's why they're here. I actually had one of you send me the entire Cinder box set, so thank you so much for that. But obviously haven't read Cinder yet, so I'm keeping the rest of them here, and then yeah, so on and so forth. So that's what that shelf is all about, and then you can kind of see my actual physical TBR on my cart here, which we're all very familiar with, so I'm not going to go through all of those individually, but do let me know if you want to see like an entire physical TBR walkthrough as well, because I feel like we haven't done that in quite a while. So let me know if you want that in another separate video. All right, welcome to the shelf on this side of the wall. So you can't see the very top one right now. I'll kind of like lift you up after I go through these 3, but this is like contemporary fiction slash literary fiction, some historical fiction, and then some dungeon crawler Carl here, because I don't know where else those go. Also, there is a bit of magical realism. It's kind of just like a mix and match shelf, but kind of color coded, like color themed, which actually gives me a little bit of joy that I have one section of my books that is like kind of color coordinated. But down here from left to right, I have Lady Tan's Circle of Women by Lisa C. This is actually a signed copy that, again, one of you found at a thrift shop and sent to me, which is so kind. But yeah, this is a signed copy of Lady Tan because you guys know I did really love this book, so thank you so much. I have The Library at Mount Char, A Place to Hide, Crescendo, The Love Elixir, Austin at Sea, Demon Copperhead, Mad Woman, A Gentleman in Moscow, The Midnight Library, If He Had Been With Me, my Lady Tan that I actually read, my little paperback, small things like these, and then this stack of classics, so Wuthering Heights, Little Women, Anna Karenina, and The Great Gatsby. On this second shelf, this is kind of my orange and yellow shelf, as you can see. Mad Honey, The Young Will Remember, Lightbreakers, Yesteryear, The Astonishing Color of After, The Arcane Arts, Lessons in Chemistry, Daughters of the Sun and Moon, Heart the Lover, I Who Have Never Known Men. I have this random pineapple here that I've had for, I want to say, say 10 years, and I feel like I don't really like it anymore, but like it's just still there. It just sits on my shelf anyways. This is a little candle that says smells like another smutty book, which honestly doesn't really fit the theme of this shelf at all, but it just like fit here physically. So there's that, and then yeah, my 2 dungeon crawler books, number 1 and number 2. And then up here, this is kind of my magical realism / books that are just blue-ish. Watermoon, Violet Thistlethwaite is not a villain anymore. Into the Blue, Homebound, The Elsewhere Express, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Howl's Moving Castle, Welcome to the Hyunam Dong Bookshop, We All Want Impossible Things, The Good Parts, The Encore, Lunch in Paris, Alone with You in the Ether, another Olivia Blake, You'd Be Home Now, I Am Not Jessica Chen, We Were Liars, and Where the Crawdads Sing. So definitely a miscellaneous shelf up there, but I feel like aesthetically, they all look great together. Ooh, we have another very, very lovely angle here for this top shelf. Honestly, a little bit of an empty shelf up here, but on this side, I have kind of holiday-esque romance books. So I have Good Spirits by B.K. Borson, and then The Christmas Tree Farm and The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and then some other kind of seasonal-ish B.K. Borsons. So Love Light Farms and In the Weeds. And then along with that, I obviously have my little winter penguin Jellycat, which is so cute, and I love him very much. I have this Scribes Quadrant print here, and does it fit on the shelf at all? Absolutely not. But again, physically, like this shelf is just so empty. I needed something to like fill it up, and that's what I had on hand. And then just over here on this side, very lonely right now, is this book, Made Me Think of You, by Libby Page. Okay, my friends, we are in the final stretch of the bookshelf tour. These are my last remaining shelves that we need to go through. Yes, I am sitting on my desk right now, but this is just another mix of more contemporary fiction, more literary fiction. So to go through, starting at the top, I have all of my Ellen Hildebrands at the very far end there. So I have 28 Summers, Golden Girl, The 5-Star Weekend, The Hotel Nantucket, Swan Song, and The Academy. I then have this hardcover copy of Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is another book that I do also have 2 copies of, but it's because, okay, I have Atmosphere paperback down here, which is the one I bought myself and read, but then a year later or a couple months later, the publisher randomly decided to send me this hardcover copy as well, and I don't really know why, but I didn't argue with it because it is one of my favorite books, and I know I don't need to have both copies of Atmosphere, but I just don't know which one to part with. And so because I can't choose, I've kept them both for now. Moving on, I have The Sea of Tranquility, Other Birds, Tom Lake, The Nest, Station 11, This Is How You Lose the Time War, A Little Life, Intermezzo, You've Reached Sam, Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, The Favorites, Maggie and a Man Walk Into a Bar, The Vanishing Half, The Other Side of Now, The Compound, Broken Country, The Summer We Ran, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, Homeseeking, The Names, The Wedding People, Blue Sisters, and Shark Heart turned out here because I love. Over here on this far end cubby is kind of like, I guess, a mini sci-fi section. So I have 2 copies of Project Hail Mary. Again, I didn't buy the second copy. I bought the original copy, and then when I went to the movie premiere, like the Toronto premiere that I was invited for, the Project Hail Mary adaptation, they were giving us the like movie tie-in editions at that screening. So that's why I have an extra copy of that. And then along with all of my Project Hail Mary stuff, I also got this from that screening. It's like one of their name tags that they wear on their suits, but it's customized to my name, my last name, which is really fun. They gave us these Amaze, Amaze, Amaze pins, and we were able to take these fun Polaroids, or not Polaroids, like a photo booth picture. So those are all from the Project Hail Mary movie premiere. I do have an amethyst rock here, and I didn't really mean for this to be like rock, like rocky, and to make that connection, but now that I'm seeing my amethyst, I guess we'll just say that's why I put that rock here. I am an amethyst, like that is my birth gemstone. But yeah, Project Hail Mary, I also have the Ministry of Time here, and then 2 Blake Crouches, Recursion and Upgrade, and then my little cool egg Jellycat. Behind me here, this is my Frederick Backman shelf. So I have My Friends, A Man Called Ove, 2 editions. I feel like I just told you I don't buy 2 editions of books ever, but again, the second edition of this was a gift from a friend and it's actually a signed copy. My friend was in New York last year, I want to say, and she saw that they had signed copies of A Man Called Ove and she bought one and she gifted it to me, which is so kind because she knows that I love this book so much. But that's why I have 2 editions of that. And then here, more Fredrik Backman's. I have the Beartown trilogy and then Anxious People, a candle here that is from Bath and Body Works and it says Book Loft on it. And oh, I'll get my butt off my desk. 2 more Jellycats here. So this is an oatmeal Jellycat and a coffee cup Jellycat. And then for the last row of all of my shelves, down here on the very end here, I have Remarkably Bright Creatures, and then I have the rest of my Taylor Jenkins Reid books here. So Malibu Rising, Atmosphere, Carrie Soto is back, Evelyn Hugo, Forever Interrupted, One True Loves, After I Do, Daisy Jones and the Six, and then here I have Pachinko. Oh, one of the best books ever written, I swear. All the Light We Cannot See, The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery, The Correspondent, Finding Grace, Lost Lambs, The Future Saints, Before I Forget, The Bright Years, The Burning Side, The Women, Wild Dark Shore, The Four Winds. This is a special 10th anniversary edition of The Nightingale that the publisher actually sent to me, and I had no idea this was coming. And you guys, I cried when this arrived because I opened it and it's actually like personalized, signed by Kristen Hanna. And I wasn't expecting this at all. Like, it wasn't even a signing that I went to. I just got this in the mail one day and I was like, what do you mean you just sent this to me unprompted? So that is one of my favorite, most prized possessions. And then I have The Nightingale, the paperback version that I bought and read myself, Firefly Lane, and The Great Alone. This is a candle that says Cozy Sunday Night, also from Bath and Body Works. Smells so good. And this is just the box that this special edition of The Nightingale came in. So, oh my goodness, that being said, I'm gonna sit back here at my desk. That being said, that was the entire bookshelf tour. I feel like I should have counted my books as I went along doing this, but you know what? I'm gonna be good and I'm gonna count up all the books that we just went through and I'm gonna put the number on screen so you guys can see how many books that I own at this point in time. But all that to say, that does bring us to the end of this bookshelf library tour. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what your favorite shelf was that you saw. I don't know how you're gonna describe them, but just like let me know which shelf you love the best. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!